Today, I want to talk about a story that's been picking up a lot of steam online recently, with the idea that Nintendo may be gearing up for some kind of mini revision to their existing Nintendo Switch family. Yes, a new hardware reveal within the existing Nintendo Switch family that we know today, which of course consists of the Lite, the base model, and the Nintendo Switch OLED. And while most of the talk online about Nintendo and new hardware recently has had to do with next generation hardware, meaning aka a Nintendo Switch 2, this particular story does not deal with that, and it's actually based off a number of patents that are kind of being deep dived, in addition to somebody who has, I would say, a questionable track record online. I am not entirely sold on this person having inside knowledge, but they have been right about a couple things that would be hard to guess in the past. But instead of going off of hearsay and even patents online, which we will be taking a look at, I want to have a broader conversation on whether or not this would make sense for Nintendo from a business standpoint, and specifically dive into what they've done in the past with consoles, because this actually wouldn't be out of character for them to do at all, even before the launch of a brand new console, or especially after we get something like an announcement for a new next-gen console. They could still make a revision to the current lineup of the family of systems that we have today, and maybe even have a discounted price and some different features. So make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on your bell notification if you're new here to join Sunbro Nation. And with that, we have to first go through some of these patents that are being discussed, and the account in question that is really bringing all of this to the forefront and creating all the headlines online is none other than Nash Weedle. At some point, I am going to deep dive Nash Weedle's track record, so we have a crystal clear picture on just how much they've been right and wrong about. But my understanding is they've called things like Metroid Dread before its announcement, specifically naming Mercury Steam as the studio that was working on it, and that's one of the bigger accolades that they get online, where people say that would be hard to guess. They've also gone over things like the new Switch 2 dev kits being in the hands of a Spain-based developer, which many thought would be Mercury Steam. Shortly after that, talk was circulating online. We then saw all of the reports of the Gamescom 2023 behind closed door reports, and also the confirmation that dev kits were being sent out for Switch 2 to key partners for Nintendo. So keep that in mind with this account. Again, I'm not really basing any of this rumor, speculation talk off of their track record necessarily, but rather some interesting things that were spotted in all of these different patents. So you have the first tweet, which reads, and keep in mind this is being translated from Spanish to English via Google, where it says the existence of a Switch Mini / Micro / Pocket is almost evident. He says, we have all of the parts, 5 patents, change position to R, ZR, and LZL, change position of home and capture buttons, new screw system, protective shell, new more compact cooling system. Now, he attaches individual screenshots to all of the patents in question, and yes, you can actually see that this is something different than any of the existing Nintendo consoles that we have today. One thing you have to keep in mind with patents, though, is that when they do go public, it might be more of an indication that Nintendo was toying around with the idea, but might not actually ever bring it to market. However, in some cases, like Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, we saw patents of things that we did not see featured gameplay-wise, with Link doing specific motions because the patents went public before that game was actually released. We've also seen a number of new Nintendo Switch base model or OLED patents hit, and then lo and behold, a new edition of those consoles is revealed. So sometimes patents can be indicative of upcoming plans from Nintendo, and other times there's a lot of crazy ideas that just do get publicly revealed that never make it to market. So the patents are not indicative of this thing for sure being a finished product or even on Nintendo's release roadmap, but I do think that it absolutely shows that they're toying around with the idea of something, and they could also make a revision to this patent. And technically the one that's public now is not the finalized product patent, but rather it's a revision one. So you then have the list of predictions that Nash Weedle is making, and he is not claiming that this is a leak. I want to be very upfront about that, but he is saying my Switch Mini Pocket predictions: release of February 16th, 2024, reduced pocket size console, removable protective cover with magnets. This was also in the patent. Caps different collectible models, variety of color models, maximum battery life 12 hours, accepts cartridges, and an RRP of $149. So how likely is it that Nintendo actually has yet another revision within the Switch family of systems to make it to market as soon as something like early next year. I think it's a coin toss at this point. We don't know if this is going to come to market or not, but I do think that when you talk about the history of what Nintendo has done with revisions in the past, it makes a lot of sense, not to mention the fact that you see it happening in the gaming industry today. Outside of Nintendo, we have companies like Sony revising the PlayStation 5, which is just 3 years old at this point in time, with a slimmer model because it drives down manufacturing costs and you can kind of respec it with certain features you want to be more of a focal point, like the detachable disk drive that Sony knows maybe as more people go the digital route, the disk drive is going to become more and more of an optional accessory, and they're gearing the market for that transition. They're making the console a little bit slimmer, and they're also driving down their production costs on the hardware. And that's where I think it makes the most sense for Nintendo to entertain this mini console idea. It might be something of an extra lineup to sell alongside of the new next generation Nintendo console at a lower price point. Now you might stop and say, we already have the Nintendo Switch Lite, it's already being sold for $200, so why would we need this? I think the only reason that this mini console would make sense is if it can support docked play in addition to portable play, and it drives down the production cost for Nintendo. You have a smaller screen, maybe 5 inches, no larger than that, and then you also have something like a mini dock that can easily plug into a TV, and you have the base functionality of the base model Switch, just with a smaller display for handheld mode. The predicted price point of $150 for all that functionality sounds way too low to me, but I could see it being sold at something like a $200 or $250 price point, and potentially kind of replacing the base model Switch as Nintendo phases out maybe that and the Lite model altogether, and then you just have the Switch OLED model being sold at something like a $300 price point, and you have this one coming in at a $200 or $250 price point, and then the new Nintendo Switch console launches at a $400 price point. It's just yet another lower priced option that maybe Nintendo drove down their production costs with, and maybe it doesn't have all the features of the Switch today. Maybe the Joy-Cons aren't detachable, and there's also no IR in them like the Lite and things like that, and maybe it's limited in its feature set on some capacity. I mean, that's really what ties into Nintendo's history. You look at systems like the Wii that got a lower production cost model that also dropped GameCube backwards compatibility, and that was continuing to sell because of the commercial success that the Wii was. Even after we knew about the Wii U and everything that Nintendo was switching to, there was still a lot of hype around the original Wii being sold at, I believe, $99 when they came out with that revision. So late into a console's life cycle, you can drop production costs in a big way and give it that second little push. Not to mention, this would line up with some of the comments from Nintendo around them having long-term roadmap support for the Switch from here, and that they will continue to support the current Nintendo Switch family with new game releases. Nintendo could indeed have a true 10-year vision in their mind for this console. It doesn't mean we're not getting new hardware before then, but it means that they might continue to offer it as one of the tiers in their product offering lineup. And if you're bringing a new revision at a lower price point to market late into the life cycle, that is one way to get a little bit of extra juice out of the squeeze that Nintendo has on the Nintendo Switch and the massive success that this console is. Will it become the best-selling console of all time, period? That remains to be seen. If it's sold at a $150 price point for some reason, and this thing actually does support docked play, plus it has portable play, but just with a smaller display, I could absolutely see them crushing the numbers and probably walking away with that coveted most successful console of all time record, which they would have to go a lot further than where they are right now to cross the PS2 and dethrone that whole king situation. But anyway, that's where I really want to hear from you guys at this point in the video. Your personal thoughts and opinions around this. Do you think this lines up with Nintendo's history overall, and that it wouldn't be surprising to see this thing launch as early next year? Do you think that it's something that there's patents floating around and being talked about online, but it's something that really won't make it to market, and the current lineup of Switch systems today is what we should expect to end this console generation with? And are you like me and you think that this could be a play for Nintendo to extend the base model Switch sales for a little bit longer at a lower price point, but it will no doubt be sold alongside of their new next generation consoles? So regardless of your thoughts and feelings on everything we talked about today, I do look forward to hearing from you all in the comments down below before you leave the video, as I do look forward to getting a back and forth conversation started with you all around these topics. Go watch yesterday's video next if you haven't already, which is on screen right now. Also make sure you like, subscribe, turn on your notification bell, and I will see you guys in the next video.